Hey, you know these brothers passing me and now rolling fly hoops. They throw some D's on it, but they still ain't got truth. They blow their cheese on it, then they die. What's the use? I'm so secure in Jesus, all I want in life is fruit. I don't need no fast money, don't need a fast car. Yeah, the faith is a race, it ain't a NASCAR. And you and God got beef, but you keep chasing money like them hundreds got beat. But he wanna be rich, even 50 to say it. He still feel broke, even though he got bread. Make them throw away their life, got them running from the feds. Love of money's like crack, both of them will leave you dead. You die and face God, nothing left to be said. Instead of chasing the truth, you take a lie to the head. Homie, all I can do, tell you what Jesus said. Repent and turn from your sin, cause the kingdom of God's at hand. Oh, you got money, money, money. You got money. You got money.
What's up, y'all? It's your man B Wade here. As we've gone through dissecting the anatomy of a player, we're coming to the end of our series. We've talked about how, first of all, the anatomy of a player deals with the heart and their mindset. We talked about how every player has a hustle, a certain area they're trying to work their talent or their gift and have misused it. We've talked about how there's greed, and then there's pride, and then there's loneliness, and then there's hidden pain. And at the core of all those things lies insecurity. Insecurity is what drives and thrives the hustler or the player to move on. Let's check out our verse right here. Proverbs 3, starting at verse 5, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path." One of the biggest issues with a player is that there is a insecurity factor. And so with the insecurity, whether they're insecure about their looks, their height, their color, the fact that they weren't popular, the fact that they want to be popular, that no one knows them, no one loves them, they don't have enough money, you don't have enough fame, you don't have enough recognition, whatever it is, you try to mask that thing through the thing that you're trying to be a player at. So when there is insecurity, a player oftentimes masks that along with the hurts and the pains and the loneliness into making up the very issue where he lacks at. And God says to us, he says, trust in the Lord with all of your heart. In other words, if there's issues where you're hurting, there's issues where there's pain, there's issues where there's loneliness, there's issues where there's frustration and hurt for you, the player or a player, then what we have to understand is that God can meet and touch those needs. Stop trusting in yourself that you have the ability to make your situation better, that you can hide and you can deal with the pain. You can't. No matter how much you try, it doesn't work. It may fulfill you for a moment. It may get you through the night. The orgasm may carry you for that day or two, but at the end of the day, it does not fulfill or satisfy the true issue of what you have. You have to trust in the Lord that he'll be able to take you through and handle the issues of your pain. It says, trust in the Lord and lean not to your own understanding. You, the player, the players are trying to figure out ways to make it better for themselves. And God says, if you would just lean to me, if you would just trust in me, he says, I can handle every situation, every pain, every hurt. You don't have to mask it anymore. You don't have to parade around. You don't have to play around. I'm going to come in. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to tighten it up. I'm going to make it better. I'm going to make you official and for real if you just trust in me. It says, lean not to your own understanding, and it says to acknowledge the Lord in all your ways. And it says again in verse 6, in all your ways acknowledge the Lord, and he shall direct your path. In other words, when you get the recognition, when people start saying, hey man, your car looks great, instead of taking that pride and saying, yeah, you know, my parents, or yeah, I got this cash and I started to put the rims on it and the subwoofers and go through the whole elaborate story, give God the honor. It says acknowledge him and say, well, you know, God blessed me with this vehicle. It says take the humble route. Acknowledge God, because players always want to be the ones that are well known and full of being pumped up and full of this self-esteem and being so pompous. God says no. He says if you want to have a heart of me, if you want to know the ways of God, if you want to start to diminish this player mentality, give God his credit and his due. Give him the honor. Man used to be a big time player, used to have all the girls, yeah, you know, but God did something brand new. Not I'm just trying to change my ways up. Give God the acknowledgement that is due him. And it says every time that you remember to acknowledge God, God is exalted and blessed, and God begins to place in an extra level of humility, and he takes you to another level of growth, which means the player in you begins to continue to diminish until he disappears. If I stop trying to mask the problem, mask the pain, if I stop trying to fix it myself and let God fix and work on me through what we've always talked about, the studying of God's Word, hanging out with other fellow believers and Christians, being spiritually uplifted and fed, God's going to change and touch our lives in major ways. And when people come to pat us on the back and say, hey man, you did a great job, say thank you. Say, I appreciate that. But also don't forget to give God his due, whether publicly or privately, but always acknowledge that he's the one that did it. And in doing that, you will continue to diminish the player mentality, mindset, and lifestyle of you, the player. If you know people that are in a player state, this would be a great time to pray for them, a great time to pray for God to heal them in the insecure areas of their life, a great time to start praying for that cousin or that uncle or that friend or that classmate or schoolmate or co-worker, or maybe even the player in your own household, your marriage, your brother, your husband, your wife, your sister, whatever it is. Begin to pray for them. God, work on the insecurities that they have, Father. Let them see that they are significant in God's eyes, that they are fearfully and wonderfully and marvelously made. Marvelous are God's works. Begin to pray for them that the insecurities of their life would be taken away, and that God would begin to put the band-aids and the healing ointments on their life and on their spiritual life, that they grow to be outstanding men and women of God, serving him because they love him, honoring him because of who he is. It's your man B. Wade. I'll holla at you.